All right, kicking it off. Number one podcast, soon to be. They say. Um, don't know what it's called yet, but it's going to be the number one podcast. Anyway, getting into it. So I have some names, some potential names, short list. That's going to be long soon, but it's short for now. They are in order of my preference: towing the line, stood up too fast, in the thick of it, talking to the hand, and before it melts. See, I think before it melts is a sleeper. I reckon that one could be popular because it makes you think like why is it called before it melts? And honestly, if you were to ask me why it was called that, why I wrote that down, I think I meant to write something else down, and it auto corrected to before it melts. Um, and yeah, and then I read it and I was like, that actually sounds pretty sick. But if I was to pick my favorite from that list, it would be towing the line. I remember a couple of years ago, I used to do this thing on Instagram called Phrase of the Week, and I'd pick a phrase, you know, every week, and I think I did it for 2 years or something. I've still got it on my phone. I'll pull it up and have a look so I can get the exact number. But yeah, every week for a total of, I think I went for, yeah, exactly 2 years, 104 weeks. Yep, 2 years. I did towing the line once, and to me, towing the line basically meant pushing yourself to the limit, but not over the edge. So you're pushing yourself to the point where you could still function and you could keep going. You weren't pushing yourself, you weren't putting yourself over the edge where you would blow up and bloody, fucking hit the wall. You were pushing yourself right up to that point. So like the point of maximal suffering without quitting. And yeah, that's probably why it's one of my favorite names. And then I mentioned that to my best mate, Dr. Fat, the Dr. Fat blueprint on IG, and he said that it also like it's actually a good analogy for life too. Like you're just towing the line, getting your way through life. Like as in trying to keep your feet on the line, and like you're walking along a fucking tightrope, trying to keep shit in order, not fall off and into the abyss. But that's my favorite name so far for this whole podcast here. Um, I don't really know what I'm gonna do with it. I don't know. I don't even know if this is gonna end up live online. This recording I'm doing right now. I'll probably have to wait until I have a name. But if I get impatient, I'm just gonna put it out I'll put it out as towing the line, and we'll go from there. I'm currently recording this on the 19th of June. Um, yeah, I don't really know what I'm going to get out of this podcast. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I'm just going to start recording stuff that I think of. I'm just going to start talking and record what comes out of my mouth. I don't know if I'm going to end up interviewing people. If I do, Dr. Fat will be the first person I interview because he's the man. Whenever we get together, we talk endless shit about everything and anything. Nothing's off limits. And we could start a topic about, I don't know, anything. We could see a leaf on the ground, and all of a sudden, an hour later, we'd be like, oh, fuck, what just happened? We spent an hour talking about leaves. Where I don't even know where I was. I got lost in my own thoughts then. Yeah, so I don't know what I want to get out of this. I'm mainly doing this, like, I don't know if anyone's going to pay attention or listen. I don't expect anyone to, because, like, some of the shit I talk about just, doesn't make a lot of sense. The main reason I decided to pull the trigger on this bad boy was because I feel like it would be good. I feel like it would be therapeutic for me to record my thoughts. I spend a lot of time out there exercising, running, riding by myself, swimming, and just thinking a lot of stuff through. And, I have a lot of conversations with myself while I'm out there. And I figured, why not record that, put it out there, it'll be like I'm getting it off my chest and putting it out into the universe. It'll feel good rather than keeping everything bottled up inside my head. I'll put it down on a microphone and out there for you guys. If there's anyone there, listen to listen to that. And so I got that idea from, I was listening to, I'm also a huge podcast fan. So maybe I'll tell you guys, once I get through this point, I'll tell you guys the podcasts that I listen to myself. I was listening to the Nikki Glaser podcast, and so she's a stand-up comedian from the US, and she was saying that it was in relation to, I kind of just took her idea and changed it a bit, but it was in relation to her breaking up with someone that she still had feelings for, or someone breaking up with her, or, you know, the relationship kind of parting ways. And she was saying she had a lot of things she wanted to say to that person, but she knew that it wasn't going to be healthy to say it to that person. So she said, I'm just going to record a podcast and pretend I'm talking to them. And that's what she did. She recorded, you know, the podcast, said everything she needed to say to that person, and then just saved the file, never aired it, never did anything with it, but she got it off her chest. She was able to actually say it. And I took that and I was like, that's not a bad concept. That's not a bad idea. I kind of had that hanging over my head during that last 8-week block of my Ironman training. And I, you know, while I was riding, doing all those hours of training, I kind of mulled it over and I was like, it's not a bad idea to maybe get something like that going. And now that I'm post-Ironman, I have a bit more time on my hands, and I figured, why not do a bit of, you know, delve into other areas and try and get something like this going. I will go into my Ironman and stuff relating to the race. Probably not in this episode, if this is even an episode. I will go into that at some stage. But I kind of want to give, I don't know, I kind of want to give anyone who listens, a bit of an idea of, I don't know, how I think, how I operate, what I'm planning to give you guys through this podcast in the first episode. And then I can go into shit like my Ironman. There's some other, like, I'm going to drop a big fucking bomb on this podcast, huge. Only one other person in the universe knows the story I have. No one else is aware. I'll drop that on this podcast at some stage. I feel like that'll help a lot of people out. Some people may be surprised too. So that's kind of the origins of this. And I decided, like, I don't really want to do an interviewing podcast. I don't want that to be my brand. I don't want that to be, you know, how I do things. I would rather start it solo, do it by myself, I guess, work on my podcast persona to, per se, like, practice, get used to it. Like, the first few of these are going to be sketchy all over the place. Like, the recording might sound horrible too. I don't even know how to work this properly. I'm recording it on a mic that I bought for $150 and a free program on my computer. I don't plan on editing it. If there's any real awkward silences, I'll probably chop them out. Or if I say anything ridiculously outlandish that I think might cause some issues, I'll probably cut that out. May or may not. Because sometimes I do say some pretty fucked up stuff. But yeah, so that is kind of what I plan to do with this. Loosely. I don't really have any set plan, but yeah, I don't want to interview people. I want it to be a solo podcast. I want to just speak my mind. Like, I have a lot to say, or I say a lot to myself, and I want to put that out there. I feel like maybe someone might benefit from it, and if just one person can benefit from hearing the shit I got to say, then I win. That's great. Pass it on to one person. So, I'm a big podcast fan, massive, and especially in my Ironman training, I was chewing through so many. I like to listen to them when I'm working, not when I'm doing real, like, concentration heavy stuff, but when I'm doing stuff that I can kind of pay attention to a podcast and do the work at the same time. I love it. Love it when I'm driving, riding, not when I'm running. Running, I don't really listen to music. I go through phases, but because I do a lot of my running early morning when it's dark and I have a torch, I don't like having headphones in. I like to be aware of what's going on. And I usually just leave my phone in the car, run with a light, and that gives me my, I don't know, bit of space, bit of time to myself, especially on a Sunday. So yeah, I chewed through a lot of podcasts, and the majority of the podcasts I listen to are comedians, because like American comedians, because to me it just makes me feel good, have a good laugh. I love some of the shit they say, and like it just makes you feel good. Honestly, it just makes me feel fucking great. So I'm just gonna list some of them off in case any of you guys are looking for great podcasts to listen to. I'll start with one that's not comedians. So it's Barbell Bros. These are two guys based out of Sydney, Mike Pearson and Paul Exidus. Mike is a bodybuilder, is a director of a supplement company as well, Magic Subs, and Paul runs Pato Performance. It's a gym, and they are probably my favourite Australian-based podcast. They're both fucking just champions, and they talk real shit. They don't fuck around. Like they're both bodybuilding. Mike's probably a more experienced bodybuilder, and Paul's a fucking brilliant physio, all about making sure people rehab well and don't, I guess, perform exercises in a way that they don't injure themselves. But yeah, they talk about real shit. So like an example of that is steroid use in bodybuilding. They're open about it. They tell people, look, this is how it is. Majority of people are using, and if you are going to use, you need to make sure you do it properly. And I just appreciate people that fucking say it how it is like that. It's rare these days. So the fitness industry is so like, there's so many smoke screens, so much bullshit going on. No one's really honest and open about it, but these guys are. So if you're looking for a podcast and you like two bros just fucking hanging out talking shit, then listen to that one. Alright, some of my favourite comedian podcasts. Number one's got to be Monday Morning Podcast with Bill Burr. He's a fucking champion. Also says it how it is, and he's decided that he isn't going to pay attention to cancel culture. So he just says shit because it's funny, and it's great. I love it. Another one by him is Anything Better. He does that with one of his mates. Also hilarious. They both just talk shit and hanging on each other. Another one with Bill is the Bill Burt podcast. He does that with Burt Kreischer. Fantastic. I also listen to Bad Friends with Andrew Santino and Bobby Lee. That is fucking fantastic. It's a bit of an improv podcast. So they might one of them will start telling a story and then palm it off to the other one, and the other one's got to kind of pick up and keep going, and they just come up with the most outlandish, ridiculous shit ever. It is so fucking funny. That's one of my favorites. Whenever that drops, I'm straight onto it. Another fantastic one, sorry, I'm just going to take a drink, is Two Bears, One Cave. Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura. Both fantastic comedians. If you've ever seen, you've probably seen Bert Kreischer on Netflix. He's the stand-up comic that doesn't wear a shirt. He's quite funny, very funny. And then Tom Segura is also on Netflix, and fuck, I've watched a few of his specials recently. Oh man, he is fucking hilarious. He has a few bits that just you gotta watch him. So highly recommend watching his specials, Tom Segura's specials on Netflix, and listening to their Two Bears One Cave podcast. He also has Tom also has a podcast called Tom Talks. Very funny, has some great guests on there. And then obviously the biggest stand-up comic podcast, and probably the most popular podcast in the fucking world, is Joe Rogan podcast. It took me a while to get into it, and initially I just didn't really give him the time or the respect, I guess, because like I'm vegan. I've been vegan for I don't even know, nearly 2 years, I guess, and vegetarian for a long time before that. That's another thing I'll probably dive into on this podcast, but not today. Yeah, there was a lot of negativity surrounding Joe Rogan from the like vegan community, and I was very hesitant to jump in on his podcast and listen, but I don't know, I decided to just give him a shot, and fuck, he's brilliant. He has so many good guests on, and I can't fault him. So I love listening to his, and they go for such a long time that it's great to listen to while riding, because if I've got a fucking 5 hour ride on Saturday, one of his podcasts will get me through more than half, and that's the best. Or I should say, like, there are some podcasts of his that I listen to where I'm like, great, I have a 5 hour ride. I get to listen to the entire Joe Rogan podcast unbroken, and it doesn't, I'm not going to miss any of it. I'm not going to have to split it up into 3 sessions. So, yeah, sometimes the best. I'm looking forward to my ride because I get to listen to his podcast. I feel like I'm just rambling on about podcasts at the moment, but you know what? I'm going to keep going. If you want, just skip ahead and you can get to what I'm talking about, something else. Another great podcast is Josh, Matt, and Sevan. CrossFit, from the CrossFit world, I suppose. Josh Bridges, Matt Fraser, and Sevan. He's a photographer or videographer. Used to work for CrossFit HQ. It's another fantastic podcast. They cover off all sorts of shit. They just talk trash, like hang shit on each other. They're all very interesting characters. They've got their own, they come from their own backgrounds. Obviously, Matt Fraser is won the CrossFit Games countless fucking times. Josh Bridges never won the CrossFit Games, but had a dominant presence. Personality-wise, fucking great. I loved him throughout the whole CrossFit community. He's a hilarious guy. I've got so many quotes banked in my mind from him because he's just a fucking great human. Ex-Navy SEAL. And Sevan just says it how it is and hangs shit on so many people. It's fantastic. So that's another one. Probably more sport-based, worth listening to. And then obviously an Australian one, Hamish and Andy. Hamish and Andy podcast is a killer. Like, if you're not listening to that already, then what the fuck are you doing? You've obviously got to start from the start, so you're going to have to be going back a lot of podcasts. I think they've been doing it for 3 years now. Took me a while to catch up at first, but I love that. Every week. It's only like 40 minutes long. So by the time you get to the end of it, you're itching for more. Fucking hell. I haven't stopped rambling, eh? And last but not least, of my favourites is this is important. It's if you ever saw Workaholics, that TV series, fucking fantastic. And if you haven't seen it, go and watch it. It is so fucking funny. They do a podcast, and it's the best. Another like easy listening one that you can just enjoy. You don't have to flick your mind on to fucking listen to it. You can just listen to it and have a laugh. And then a couple of honourable mentions. Wild Ride with Steve-O. He has some good guests on. He's had Tony Hawk on a few times, and Tony Hawk's a fantastic podcast guest. If you ever listen to him, he's got so much info, so much knowledge, so much experience, I guess, just in life in general. He started out, I think he bought his first house when he was still in high school, which is ridiculous because he was such a gun when he was younger. But, yeah, sorry, I fucking got distracted then. Anyway, those are some of the podcasts I like to listen to. Also, the Nikki Glaser podcast as well, as I mentioned earlier. They all give me, each one gives me a little bit more. Each one gives me something in their own way. And I enjoy listening to all of them. After I did my Ironman, I, didn't really listen to anything for probably a week and a half. And I fell right off track. I've probably been talking too far away from the microphone this whole time. Ugh. I fell right off track with what I was listening to. So the last week I've spent trying to catch up and pull back in. Yeah. But I'm finally getting there, making some progress. I just haven't been able to listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, so that'll be what I chunk off next. He's got some good ones that are, they cover off the topic of UFOs, which I'm keen to listen to because your boy loves UFOs. Alright. What do I want to cover off next, eh? Got to think of the flow of the conversation. Alright, this is what I'll talk about. So I was running I got up, I'm not used to, so I start work, I like to start work 6:30, 7 o'clock, around that time frame. And I'm not used to running, because before I left for Queensland to do my Ironman, I was running probably, more than probably 17 to 20 Ks during the week, 17 to 20k runs during the week. So multiple 17 to 20 kilometer runs during the week. And I'm not used to running less than that. So yesterday, Friday, I had an 8 kilometer run. And it was my first run back since my Ironman. And I was like, great, I'll get up, normal time. Alarm usually goes off at 5 to 4, and then I snooze because, you got to snooze once. And then I'll get up, do my warm-up, drive down to Eltham, and hit my run. So I got there, probably started at, 4:40, finished my run, and it was like 20 past 5, and I was like, what the fuck have I done? I'm used to running for, nearly 2 hours, even more than 2 hours. And I started at the same time I would do if I had a 20k run, and I only had to run 8. So I finished ridiculously early. I was like, fuck. Sitting there, got into work before 6. Misjudged the fuck out of that one. Anyway, you'll learn from your mistakes. Sometimes you can get a bit of a sleep in, even though you may not want it. What do I have to do tomorrow? Tomorrow's supposed to be a rest day, but I didn't really get to ride until late this evening. I only just missed the cutoff for nighttime, as in by the time I finished my ride it was fucking dark. I was supposed to do an hour and a half. I only got just under an hour done, so tomorrow morning I'm gonna make up the difference by 2 hours because I'm down in Ocean Grove at the moment for the night, and who doesn't love riding along the Great Ocean Road? It's the best, so I wouldn't pass up that opportunity to clock up some Ks. It'll be an easy ride. I'm not going to be, going all out. I've got to hold back for the next month, but yeah, I'll go out there and explore, think about some shit, and enjoy it. But yeah, so this month, so I'll run through what I am doing with myself at the moment, training-wise, after coming back from the Ironman. At the moment, I kind of I haven't really done any weights training or strength stuff since, probably 8 weeks out from my Ironman. So what's that? I've 2 weeks out, 2 weeks past my Ironman, 2 weeks deload, that's a month there, plus 2 months so 3 months. I probably haven't done weights in 3 months. Like I'm talking nothing. No squats, no bicep curls, no crunches, nothing. Just spent the whole time training, and then the past 2 weeks I haven't done fuck all because you got to rest after one of these events or something like an event this big, or so I've been told by countless people. I'll get into that in a sec. So yeah, what I want to try and do starting this week coming is start lifting some weights again, mate. And I've been told I'm not allowed to do anything other than upper body, so it's going to be, it's going to be nothing but chest, back, bis, tris, and core. Now, usually I wouldn't be that excited, but I feel like I'm going to have some newbie gains because I haven't done weight training in over 2 months. So I feel like I'm going to get super jacked. It's going to be sick. So stay tuned for that. I mean, this podcast I might not even upload this, so you may not even hear this, so you may not even know what the fuck's going on. But stay tuned. You might see me, posting some killer bicep workouts, instead of some stupid rides. So going back to recovering properly after doing an Ironman, I'm notorious for not letting myself rest and recover after anything. So everything I've done in the past, I am notorious for just, suck it up. And then instead of it taking a week to get back to 100%, it will take a month or 2 months of me functioning at like 30%, then 40%, 50, 60, and then eventually 100. So usually I drag out the recovery process for far longer than I need to, because I am like, no, just got to tough it out. And that's not always the right answer. So I've decided to listen to my coach and some people, you could say, more experienced than I, because they've done a few races like this. Decided to listen to them and take it easy and not put pressure on myself, because I am probably going to do another Ironman and try and beat my time that I put forward. I'm going to talk about this in a separate episode of this podcast, the Towing the Line podcast, or as it's called, as of now. So I'll put that all in another episode. Not for this one. This one is just an introduction to me. So let's get into that, right? So who am I? What are my ambitions? What are my goals? What have I done in the past? What makes me tick? My name is Anthony Di Paolo. I used to be a fat kid growing up. Used to be overweight, lazy as fuck. Like I would used to play football. Probably a good place to start. Used to play footy. When I was younger, I started in under 10s, and I would come up with all sorts of bullshit excuses to get out of training. Like everything. Like I'd stub my toe and I'd be like, oh, my toe's sore, can't train, it's really sore, can't run, can't do anything, I'm just going to watch. Because I was a lazy fuck. Anyway, fast forward to, when did I start getting into fitness, really? It was probably, I don't know, what is it now, 2021? It's probably it was the last 2 years of high school. I started to enjoy training and put some time into fitness. So whatever that was, when did I finish? I think I finished in 11. Did I finish in 11? No, 2013 I finished. So probably around 2011 I started getting into fitness. And slowly it's just evolved, and to the point where I did go through a phase where a couple of years ago where no excuse was suffice. This is where not recovering properly after events comes from, because I'm so used to I was so used to coming up with stupid excuses for absolutely everything. The second I kind of started loving training, no excuse was good enough, because I was like, nah, you're just full of shit. You just want to stop. You're just, pretending to get out of it. When that's not the case anymore. Now I love this shit. I want to do more of it. So I've got to be careful that I don't, put myself in that hole and get stuck and, work myself into injury. I used to play footy, then slowly realised that I enjoyed the training side of things more than the playing. Which led me to stop playing football and just start training. And then I got in my head that I wanted to challenge myself. The way I worded it was, I want to quit. So I want to push myself to the point where I want to quit. And then either quit, or what usually happens is I don't quit, I suck it up, I push through, and I feel great for breaking that barrier. And that's kind of where my hunger for doing some, pretty cool stuff that has challenged me over the years. I guess my first kind of challenging thing I did was Spartan races. I've done a few of them. That was probably where... No, it started with Tough Mudder, actually. That was the first thing I did. Did Tough Mudder, and I was like, this is actually kind of fun. And then found Spartan, which was like... So if you haven't done Tough Mudder before, it's quite fun. Like, there's no pressure. Like, yeah, some people run it. Most people walk it, which is what we did. Ran, talk shit, got to the obstacles, got through them. They were pretty fun. Some of them are actually quite hard, and most of them are just very fun. There's no... If you don't want to do it, you can just walk around. There's no harm in that. I did that, and I was like, this is actually kind of cool. And then, like, we had a little group going from my local gym, the Health and Leisure Centre. There was a crew of us that did multiple races. We ended up doing Spartan race. I think we did it's whatever the 7K one and the 14K one is called. We did both of them together, back to back. That was heaps of fun. Spartan's probably a little bit more competitive than Tough Mudder, and like, I don't want to say culty, but a little bit culty. They've got their own, own vibe about them, but so much fun. So if you're looking for something to do and you want to get a bunch of mates together and do something fun, Tough Mudder and Spartan, fantastic. Anyway, in doing Spartan, I can't remember what year it was, but in doing Spartan, I met my best mate, Dr. Fat, Ben Smith. Not the CrossFitter. He's probably better than the CrossFitter, if I'm honest. I met him, and we kind of hit it off on our mutual love for the unordinary. Is that a word? Not sure. But we hit it off for with our love for like wild shit that not everyone wants to do, and we kind of kept doing events together. One of the most notable ones that we did together was we did the Spartan Ultra Beast, I think it's called, in Bright, and the first year we did that, it was 45Ks. Then we went back the next year where it was like, I think it was 52. We did that together. Sorry, my computer is on loud with notifications. It was 52Ks. And like, we went there, we trained all year. Like, we just did our own training, but we were like, we're going to fucking crush this. And we did. We ended up coming first and second in our age group. And we fucking, like, I don't want to say cruised through it, but we cruised through it. We had so much fun. It was fantastic. Then where did we go from there? I think that was... From there, we kind of just went into like doing crazy workouts, doing strength shit for like probably a year. And then we're like, fuck it, we'll do the Melbourne Marathon. That was fun. That hurt a lot. I was underprepared for that one. And then I think I decided to do an Ironman, but we had already signed up for Two Bays, the Two Bays Trail one, which was 56Ks. This was probably the end of 2019. I decided to do an Ironman around the same time that I went vegan, which was like September, October. And in 2019. And what was I fucking talking about? Sorry. I'm really sorry if this is a bit spotchy too, and my voice is kind of monotone. I'm sure I'll get better at it as the episodes roll on. And if this doesn't air, then you will never know that this was my first practice run of the Towing the Line podcast, of the Before It Melts podcast, of the Stood Up Too Fast podcast, of what's another one? What's another funny one, eh? Of the Before It Melts, Talking to the Hand podcast, In the Thick of It podcast. I lost where I was. I'm so sorry. This is embarrassing. You can just... if in hindsight, you could have just skipped 30 seconds. You wouldn't know. Alright. Getting back on track. Alright. End of 2019. That's when I decided to do an Ironman. Didn't have a coach until the start of December because she didn't have any spots open. Sorry, I had my hands in front of my mouth. So she didn't have any spots open until the start of December. So there was 2 months or a month and a half where I was training on my own. And that was not very good. That wasn't good at all. I was riding like I had just gotten a road bike, and I was riding like I think I was doing 300 k's a week, and ended up with just fucked up knees and all sorts of shit because you don't just launch into fucking riding and do 300 kilometers a week. That's ridiculous. So I started with her in December, and she had me on track. I was doing my first half Ironman in in Geelong, and 2 days was at the end of January. Anyway, started training December with her. It was great, fantastic. Did the Tour de Froth with the crew, vegan frothers. Check them out, fucking fantastic, awesome human beings, just the best vibes. Did that with them in December, around Christmas time, and then 2 days was in January, and that was probably one of the most fucked up runs I've ever done. I did that with my boy Dr. Fat and Shane Egan. I don't know. I think for us, like I've spoken to both of them about it, and like even after doing a fucking Ironman, that run that year was probably the hardest thing I've ever fucking done. What made it fucked up for me, I'm speaking from, I don't know about the other boys, but I probably wasn't prepared to run that far. I might have been okay, but on the day I decided to flick to my trail. I decided to change to my trail shoes, which I hadn't run in since probably since the end of 2018. So it was probably over a year I hadn't run in them, and I'd been running in Hoka Ones, the Clifton Sixes, for like, I don't know, 5 months, and I was loving it. And then the day before the race, I was like, oh, it's a trail run. Quick, I better swap to my trail shoes. Biggest fucking mistake ever. I ended up like probably 15 k's into a 56k run. My feet started hurting, like everything was fucked. I could feel every single rock under my foot, and it was horrible. The last 20 k's of that run was literally me just repeating, take the next step, take the next step, take the next step, take the next step. And like, to make it worse, like this may not seem like much, but if you're doing a race and your watch is glitching out and not picking up the distance properly, like, and you're struggling, that's enough to fuck with you. So I was running along and my watch just wasn't picking up the distance. It was saying that I'd only done like, I don't know, I was nearly at the end, and it was saying I'd only done like 38 k's, when in reality it was more like 45 or 48 k's, and it was just shitting me up the wall. And I just remember those last 20 k's was fucking hell. When I crossed the finish line, I honestly was like, what the fuck just happened? I don't think I planned nutrition wise at all. Like you learn big time when you suffer in situations like that. Didn't hydrate properly, didn't have a good nutrition plan, shouldn't have changed shoes. I woke up, I was probably sore for a fucking week after that one. Disaster. And then what did we do before that? So that was the last big challenge I've done with Dr. Fat. Sorry, I got distracted by my phone. That was probably the last big challenge I did with Dr. Fat. Before that, we had another monster, which we did for raising awareness for women's violence at the Eltham Leisure Centre. At the Eltham Leisure Centre, to raise awareness for violence against women. They do an event on a yearly basis where they try and accumulate as much kilometers on it's over the space of 16 hours. And they have 2 bikes sitting in the foyer for 16 hours, and they've got it. The goal is to raise money, raise awareness, and to keep the bike spinning for 16 hours. So the Dr. Fat and I, or Ben Smith Benjamino, as I'll call him from here out, or BJ. No, that's not even his name. BS. BS and I decided that it would be a good idea to commandeer one of those bikes and keep it spinning between the two of us for 16 hours. So we were both naive to what that would actually be, how that would feel. We'd never done anything like that before. We rocked up at, what time did it start? Started at 5:30, I think, 5:30 to 9:30. Rocked up at 5 o'clock, both of us, did a bit of a stretch, and we were like, all right, what do you reckon? 10-minute intervals each? Great. We had one change of clothes each. That was it. One, cycling bib, one pair of cycling bib shorts and a jersey each, and we were like, great, 10-minute intervals, fantastic. Let's do it. I think I started first, and we swapped every 10 minutes for 16 hours. That was a roller coaster of emotions. Spirits were high at the start. We were talking shit. Well, probably not the start. Probably the first hour we took us, to ease into it. And then more and more people started coming around, and we were talking shit for a bit, and it was like great. It was fantastic until about 11 o'clock on that first day. That's when it started to get really hard because it got quiet. 11 till probably 2 o'clock. It was rough. We were trying to do things to distract us, but fuck. 10-minute intervals each was, it's just enough for you to get to settle into it, but not long enough. Wait, I fucked that up. Yeah, anyway, 10-minute intervals each was just probably not a smart move. Would have been better to go an hour each, because your rest wasn't really long enough. We were eating, it was just fucking crazy. By the time we got to the end of that, I just remember I was like a fucking zombie. I wasn't making any sense, couldn't talk properly. We got through it, and I guess we hit our target that we wanted to hit, but fuck, we were naive to that one. So that was probably one of the biggest things we've done together. Anyway, after 2 days, I kind of decided to pursue triathlons and my Ironman, and he didn't want to, which is fair enough. We were like, cool. I pursued that, and then I was meant to do the Cairns Ironman in 2020, but COVID, derailed that. And in hindsight, that was probably the best thing that could have happened for me. I wouldn't have been ready, knowing what I know now after doing one. I would have died out there. That would have been so hard. I would have finished it, but fuck, I would have left my soul on that course instead of it being what it was, which that I just did. It wasn't that. I was prepared. I was ready. I went out there and I executed the fucking plan and came away with what I wanted, and I couldn't ask for more. So yeah, that kind of brings it. Hopefully that brings you up to speed. I'm sure I'll fill in some gaps here and there along the way, but that probably brings you up to speed with my journey thus far. Obviously I've shared a lot of that on Instagram, and I guess over the years, when did I start my Instagram? It escapes me. It was probably like 2016, 2017, something like that. I initially started a separate Instagram to my personal account because I wanted to post my fitness stuff separate to my personal account, because I was like, people don't want to see my fitness shit on my personal account because they follow me to see shit about me. And then I think it was a year ago, might have been again, a lot of shit happened to me in 2019. I realized, I was like, that's not, I called, I can't even remember what my old handle was. It was something. I used to nickname myself Captain Fit. That's right, it was Dip doing fit shit. And I used to call myself Captain Fit. And I used to live by that. And then somewhere in 2019, I was like, I'm not hiding behind this persona of Captain Fit anymore. This is who I am. Changed it all, and now it's my only profile. My Instagram account that used to be my fitness one is now my profile, because that's who I am. That's the person I am. I love that shit. I live by it. I've met so many fantastic people through doing it. I did spend a lot of time doing what's it called? F45. That was a big chunk of early days. I used to love that. But yeah, then kind of stopped doing that. Followed other stuff, and anyway, here we are doing triathlons, loving them. Just missing some strength work at the moment because I haven't lifted weights in a very long time. But I hope that gives you a bit of an idea of who I am, where I've come from. I used to post a lot on Instagram. That has died off. I realized that it was probably chewing up more of my headspace than I wanted it to. I would find myself like mulling over, what do I post today? I need to post twice a day. I need to post shit all the time. I need to keep everyone happy. I need to keep posting stuff. I got to keep on top of the content. And it was like, I'd find myself trying to train, but also trying to generate content at the same time in the session. And I was like, fuck, I just want to train. I just want to enjoy it. So then there was a period, probably the end of last year, end of 2020, where I didn't post for fucking a couple of months, and it was fantastic. I loved it. I was just enjoying life. And then from then on, I've kind of just slacked right off because I just want to enjoy it. I'll post stuff that happens to me that makes me, that's cool. I don't need to post all the time. It's not like, I guess if it was a business, different story, but it's not. It's my hobby. It's my passion. It's my, what's the term a lot of people use? Like Instagram is literally just so you can't even talk, you can't answer me when I'm asking these questions because it's a podcast. So I'm recording this and you're not going to listen to it ever or until like I put it out, which could be in a month's time. It's a collage. Is that what it is? I think it is. I think it's a collage. Anyway, I'm going to Google it because it's a podcast and I can do whatever I want. It's my podcast. Towing the Line. Listen to it. Number 1 podcast in Australia. Collage. Sorry, I apologise in advance. Just skip. Yeah, pick collage. It's a collage. Anything pieces of different materials such as paper, cloth, wood. Yeah, so Instagram is basically a collage of your life. And that's what mine is. Mine's a collage of my fucking life. And you know what? Each square represents something different. And I'm not going to delete any of it. I'm going to keep it all there because, you go back to the start and it shows who I was back then. It shows, I've evolved over however many years and I love it. I love seeing that, the transformation. It's huge. I've learned so much and every year I love it because every year I learn more. You never stop learning when you, like, no matter what you do, if you're invested in it, you never stop learning. You will never fucking stop learning. It's just the way life is. You think you know everything. Like, I go back fucking like 2 years. I thought I knew everything. I thought I was fucking fantastic at endurance. I thought I was the best. Now I look back and I was like, what the fuck? I knew nothing. Nothing. Not a single thing. Nothing at all. Insane. Yeah, so just now that's another thing. You've just got to be. I've got to be open-minded and acknowledge the fact that you are gonna be always learning. You have to be on the ball. You have to be, I guess, open-minded is the perfect term to describe it. You've got to be open-minded about the fact that you're always going to be learning. You will never know it all, and you have to be willing to accept that in order to gain more knowledge. More knowledge that is life, I suppose. I'm getting a bit of a raspy throat. I don't know how these motherfuckers, I don't know how Joe Rogan does podcasts for fucking 3.5 hours, 4 hours. I've been going for 49 minutes and my throat's raspy as. Oh, maybe because he's not talking the whole time. Alright, so there was something that was on the tip of my tongue before, and I seem to have forgotten it. It probably wouldn't be a bad move to have a notepad with me so I can write shit down while I think of it. See? You learn. You fucking learn by doing stuff. And that's it. The only way to learn is by doing shit. So, like, for me, I've come away from my Ironman recently. I've learned so many things from that one race that I'm going to implement on my next race. And just by learning those things, I don't have to be any fitter, but by knowing what I know now, I will probably get a better time by probably fucking 20 minutes just by knowing what I know. Not any more fitness, but just that extra knowledge will probably get me 20 minutes. That's the power of that's the power of knowledge. So you got to be willing to take that shit in. If you, like, one of the things that I keep fucking up is if someone has done things, if someone's an expert in something and someone has done things more than you, listen, take on their knowledge. That's probably one of the things I don't do enough of. Like, I've been training with, some people that have, I apologize for my notifications. I've been training with some people that have done a lot of Ironmans in the past. And they've fucking, been doing it for years. And I probably don't listen to them enough as I should. They know better than me. So I just, I've got to be more open to that. As, like, everyone has to be more open to information that people try and give you. I guess there's also people that try and give you information that are full of shit, don't really know what the fuck they're talking about. But, you live and you learn. There was something else that I wanted to touch on my first podcast date. The towing the line. Before it melts, you know what I should do? I should have an ice cream. I should eat an ice cream while doing this, bit of ASMR, and I should try and get out a hot topic before it melts. That would actually be a good concept for a fucking podcast. Hey, have an ice cream, that's your time limit, and you gotta fucking spit out hot topic before it melts completely. And then I get to eat it if I get the topic out before it melts. Oh, I like that. Patent pending, TM. Don't steal my idea, alright? When was that? It was at 52 minutes, eh? I'm going to write that shit down. Oh, bro, I forgot what I was talking about. Happens all the fucking time, doesn't it? Anyway. I hope you guys I hope people do listen to this and they get to know me a bit better. And, I know from listening to the podcast I listen to, I've kind of built a fucking relationship with... I feel like I've built a relationship with these people because I listen to them every fucking week and I hear their voice and I laugh with them, and I'd like to provide that for someone or some people because it's fucking great. Like, what if something makes your life better, more bearable, more enjoyable, then why not embrace it? Why not enjoy it? I just think people that, I guess not stubborn, but people that neglect that stuff, it's silly. If something makes you happy, fucking do it, yeah? Do it, enjoy it. You don't have to be, not like, people may not agree with it. People will look at it and be like, that's dumb. But if it makes you fucking happy, do it. Fuck. Like, alright, controversial. When I go to the toilet, sit down. I don't stand up. Why the fuck would I stand up? There's a seat there. If I stand up, you might fucking miss, and then you gotta wipe the seat down. It's a pain in the ass. There's a seat, use it. I just sit the fuck down. I'm not talking number twos. I'm talking when I do a wee, I'll sit down. There's a fucking toilet seat. Different if I'm in a public setting, because sometimes that's a bit gross. And there's usually a urinal, which is way easier. And if I'm outside, like, I'll just fuck piss on a tree. But if I'm at home or, at a house, I'm going to sit down. It's luxury. There's a seat. Fucking use it. Jeez. And, like, so many people right now, or the one of you who's listening, will probably be like, that's fucking weird, man. But you know what? I don't care because I enjoy it. And it's great. And you should try it. You might like it. And then you know what? You'll be sitting down too and you'll be like, fuck, that Anthony guy on the Before It Melts podcast. You heard it here first. He's right. He's onto something. Should listen to what he says. He's got some great ideas. Yeah, fucking oath. I do. Listen to me. yeah, so if you take anything away from this podcast, sit down when you wee at home. It's the best. Oh, water's fantastic. There was something else that was on the top. That's what it was. So, I probably should have said this at the start, but I didn't. I swear a lot, and this is definitely going to be an explicit podcast, because if it wasn't, there would be a whole lot of beeps going on, or a whole lot of, or like what are the other things they use? The fucking shit like that. I swear a lot. Get used to it. I don't mean it in a bad way, but it's just how I express myself most of the time, and yeah, it's a great way to stay in shape. Yeah, so I think I am just about ready to wrap it up. I don't really have anything else to say. I really hope I do upload this for you guys. I think it'd be cool. I just need to think of a fucking logo or something so I can, anyway. That is all stuff for me to do off air. I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode. If you've got any suggestions of how to improve this production value, let me know. I'm always open for ideas, especially since this is my first one. I don't know how the sound quality is going to be. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I really hope it works well. I'm looking forward to doing this more often. That's what I was going to say. I don't know how frequent I'm going to do this. Ideally, I would do it on a weekly basis. Set aside some time to talk a bit of shit on maybe a Sunday and put it out on Sunday night, Monday. That way you can start your week with a, fresh episode of Talking to the Hand. I've tried to throw out every single name in this episode just so that whatever I decide to name it, there's a reference somewhere in here. Maybe record it Sunday nights or Sundays after my run on a Sunday and just, let it out, let it out for the universe to listen to. Even if no one fucking listens, it'll be out there. Therapeutic for me. You could call it selfish if you want. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. I will, hopefully I'll chat to you soon. This is me. I don't know how to sign these off, I should just do something. I should say something fucked up. Yeah, I'll sign it off by this. Ladies and gentlemen, if you take anything away from this podcast, it is sit down when you wee. It is absolutely fantastic.